why don't we talk about closing the sale with Vanessa Shaw. She is a business growth and success mentor for passionate entrepreneurs and empowered leaders who have the drive and vision to make a difference in the world. Vanessa uses her proven business development strategies and unique partnership approach to coaching, refined through working with hundreds of diverse international clients. We'll get to that in just a second. She helps you play a bigger game in life by running a lucrative, powerful business and enjoying the lifestyle of freedom that we all want. Now, after a career in the UN in Switzerland and 10 years as CEO of a pan-European boutique executive coaching business, which I hear those are a dime a dozen these days, Vanessa moved to the United States almost 3 years ago and within months had established her own business right here, starting from zero. Vanessa worked with some of the world's top law firms, banks, international corporations, and high-powered leaders from around the world, such as KPMG, the World Economic Forum, Oracle, and CM, or Cameron McKenna. Vanessa has a savvy gift of pinpointing exactly where business owners and leaders can immediately make quantum leaps to step into their role as CEO of their business and start seeing more income, more clients, and more success. Who wants those things? Anybody? Income, clients, success, yeah. Vanessa's clients quickly break through the 6- and 7-figure income barriers and play a bigger game in business and in life. Let's find out how and bring Vanessa to the stage.
So I get the traditional graveyard shift, this is called, at the end of the day. Can we hear me? Just get the volume going a little bit there. Are we good? Yes? Keep going. Keep going. I think you can hear me now. Yes? Good. So traditionally known as the graveyard shift, the speaker at the end of the day, right? Everybody's getting tired. You've heard a lot. You're probably ready to network now after Gelly's given all of those great tips and you're thinking about the follow-up. So I'm not actually closing the sale in the traditional way of closing the sale today. I'm actually going to close the day for you and talk about some of the real stuff that's going to get in the way of you succeeding when you step out of here. Because I know full well that you're fired up, you're inspired right now, you want to make it happen, but I'm going to share with you in the next 30 minutes the 5 dysfunctions that I see time and time again that stop people in their tracks, that keep you playing small, that keep you in a place of self-sabotage, right? We all know that, right, when we're not playing the game that we could be. What I'm going to share with you as well might seem deceptively simple, and you might even find yourself saying, I know this stuff, I've heard this before. But I can guarantee that if you are not in the place that you want to be in your business, you are falling into one of these traps. And the first thing you're going to have to do is be actually brutally honest with yourself, because as a leader, self-awareness and self-honesty are key traits that you need to build if you really want to be successful. True leaders create a future that is distinctly different from their past. That's what leadership is about. That's what business success is about. It's about creating from nothing. That's what all of us here are in business about. I know that I've had conversations today, and some of you are saying, in a few months' time, I'm going to be launching this dream, and I've been planning this for a while. Or some of you are just ready to go, or you're just getting your first clients. Some of you are taking it to the next level. But you're essentially creating from nothing. And that was the statement that I heard about 5 years ago when I was attending an International Coaching Federation conference in Florida. At the time, I was living in Switzerland, and I've been living there for about 21 years. And for those of you that know me a little bit here in the audience today, I'm actually British. This is not how Swiss people sound, right? I just happened to work at the United Nations for a while, and I speak fluent French, and that was what took me there. But I am actually a Brit and not an Australian. It's an important distinction. And so at the time when you were saying that, I was working with top leaders and executives across Europe, and I had this, wonderful boutique executive coaching practice, when I heard that quote, I really felt like this is my time. This was the message for me. And it was my moment of self-honesty as well, that I had to say to myself, you know what? I'm coaching other people to achieve big goals. I'm coaching others to step outside of their comfort zones. And actually, when I look at my future from where I'm at now today, it's looking scarily predictable. I couldn't see that I was going to be creating a future that was different from the past. And I felt very incongruent with the work that I was putting out into the world. And I knew that if I wanted to go to my next level of success, something had to shift. And it was one of those wake-up calls for me. It's like, how can I teach people to be bold, to play bigger, to make a bigger difference in the world if I'm not a really credible role model for it? Now, at the time, I was living in Switzerland, happily married. My husband is actually here in the front row because everybody thinks I've divorced him to get here. No, I haven't. We had 2 kids, a boy, a girl. I was back then around about 40, okay? Don't bother doing the maths. Boy, girl, dog, cat, 4-bedroom house, 2 cars. Even the dog and the cat, one was male and one was female, right? My life was just so predictable. It was everything that I thought it was going to be. And that's when I said, I want to create this future that's distinctly different from my past. I want to really step into my entrepreneurial journey. And part of that was going to set in motion me owning my dream of coming and living here in the States. That had been on my mind for a long time. That was my vision. My husband is actually American. He'd been working in the United Nations. He's had a 30-year career there. And at the time of us getting married, he said to me, you can pretty much ask me anything. Don't ever, though, ask me to leave Switzerland. Because he had pursued his dream many years previously of leaving California to go and live what he thought was going to be a James Bond-like existence, right? Driving fast cars around Switzerland and the little fast lanes around the Alps and everything. I was like, wow, now I really do have a problem on my hands. Because I'm a girl with a dream and a vision. I don't want to be where I'm at, and I've got a husband that says, it's the one thing, don't ask me. We happened to be over here on a trip in Arizona. We were taking our kids on a trip to see the Grand Canyon, to go to Sedona, Vegas, taking a show before we were going to go out and hang out on the beach in California for a couple of weeks. And on a rainy night in a dark, dingy bar in Sedona, it was not a very luxurious place, it was not a pretty place, I announced to my husband, I'm done. I can't live this life anymore. I've got to follow my passion. I've got to follow my dream. I'm not going to be happy if I stay where I am. And frankly, you probably won't want to stick around because I'm not going to be fun to be with. 2 glasses of Sauvignon Blanc later, he was on board. So one thing, ladies, this is always the little piece for you, just in case. And I know the guys go, please don't go there. Please don't equip my wife or my girlfriend with this kind of a knowledge. But having worked with a lot of top corporate lawyers and business executives in Europe, I knew that there were 2 ways to get a decision, especially with a guy. Talk the numbers, plead the business case, and then when you've got them on board with that, go for the emotional underbelly, and then you win. So all of that started the journey that we were to call the Shaw Family Big Bold Adventure. And the plan was going to be 3 years, and I was going to, we were going to carry on. My husband was finishing up his career. We were going to live 3 years in Europe, get the kids to a certain point of school, and then make this big move. Now, I don't know about you as an entrepreneur, but when you've made a decision, 3 years is a really long time, right? And I got back to Europe and I said, there's no way. I said I was done, and now I'm ready to go. So within 11 months of that conversation, I had sold up everything, said our goodbyes, got my children out of schools. We lived in a pretty horrible hotel for a while in France whilst we were getting containers and everything, ready to move to the States. And I set about pursuing my dream of living here, actually in Arizona. We are residents up in North Scottsdale, and starting my business from scratch over here. Now, the thing that you have to know when you really step up in life and business is you have to have a big mission. And you have to have a very compelling why as to why you are doing what you are doing. Because there's one thing I'm going to guarantee to each and every one of you, and it never ceases to amaze me that this is the truth. When you truly step up and you step out and you declare that future that you want for yourself, the universe is going to send you a challenge or two just to check to see if you're really up for it. Guaranteed. Wait for it to come. Most people interpret that sign as a sign that they weren't meant to do it. Not at all. It's there for you to build the muscle, because you need to build the muscle of resilience and picking yourself back up again each and every time, because there's going to be a lot of challenges. My challenge came just a few weeks into having moved here. Now, part of what didn't go to plan was we were sort of hoping that my husband would get a bit of a deal from the UN so that he could come over sooner with me. And they were like, no, we want you to work to the bitter end. You're so brilliant, we want to keep you to the last day. And because this was my passion, we said, you know what? I'll go on ahead with the 2 kids. I'll set up home. I'll set up business. My husband then commuted for the next 2 years between Switzerland and Arizona. So when people in the States complain about commutes, speak to me. We have that conversation. And my husband has gone back to Switzerland. I'm here now thinking, wow, I've made it happen. I'm sitting in my home. I am going out to networking events. Gelly, if she's still in the room, would be proud to know that I was within 2 weeks of being here. I was out at my first networking events, trying to connect. But then that universe sent me the challenge when I really thought that I'd been big and bold already. And my 17-year-old son, who had been having some challenges back in Europe, and I really secretly hoped that the move would be just what he would need to get himself back on track, he unfortunately went seriously off the track. I didn't expect my visitors to be the Scottsdale Police Department in the middle of the night. I didn't expect to have to go and pull my son out of emergency rooms in Paradise Valley Hospital. I didn't even know where Paradise Valley was, let alone a hospital. And here I am having to leave my 12-year-old in bed by herself at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was a really tough call. Here I was pursuing my dream of growing a business and making the world a better place. And my family looked like it was being torn apart to anybody on the outside. I had to make the hardest decision of my life, which was to take a stand for my son's safety and his well-being and seek help. And that help meant that I was going to have him removed from my home in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning. To say that that was pretty much one of the toughest decisions of my life was an understatement. Moving here from Switzerland and not knowing anybody was really easy compared to that, I can tell you. He was then going to spend the next year in a boarding school. As a family now, we joke about it and we say, you went to naughty boy boarding school. Fortunately, he's really come outside of the other side of that in a very great way. But he spent the next year up in Utah. The universe will always throw you a curveball when you least expect it, right? And to check that you're really up for it. And what I see time and time again in business is it's like the same thinking that got you where you are today will not get you to that future place. I've got to admit that with my son, I was still thinking about it in the same way. There was a reason for me to be here in the States, because it meant that I could really get the help and the support that I needed. And I really had to learn to think differently and step up into my own leadership, not only as a businesswoman, but as a mother, and take a stand for my family. I'm going to share with you the 5 dysfunctions that I see time and time again, and I promise that you are guilty of at least one of them, and probably at least 3 to 5. The very first one is what I call the quest for a magic potion. In each and every one of us are seeds of desire for more. It's hardwired, right? We're hardwired for growth. That's what life is about. That's the cycle that we're supposed to follow. But equally so, there's another part that's hardwired into us, that we also want it to be easy. And that's what I call the quest for a magic potion. It's like the wishful thinking that if I just hope, if I just put it out there, it's going to work. And if some of us are watching some of these very skilled internet marketeers, and you know who you are if you're in the room, because you're guilty of this too, you even pray to that. Let's make it sound easy. 7 figures in 3 simple steps. The 4-hour working week, right? Like, who doesn't fall prey to that? Who doesn't fall prey to that? But the problem is with that is that we don't have a real roadmap for success. And most times we're not in real conversations where people give you the inside of what it takes to be successful, and they give you the real stories. I thought it was so refreshing to hear the first speaker this morning, for her to admit with such vulnerability, right? 5 years. 5 years of struggle when she'd asked for all of that cash from friends and family. And here she is 5 years on. But that's the truth for many people. So there really is no magic pill. You've got to stop looking for it. One of the things I share with my clients is every time they get distracted by something that seems easier than what I'm telling them to do, they know full well they're fallen prey to this. So when you think you're going to go to a networking event, but then all of a sudden something else seems easier, right? You're off track. It's this quest for a magic potion and wanting it to be easy. Now, this is the entrepreneurial dream, right? I mean, didn't most of us sign up to be entrepreneurs because we wanted freedom, we wanted a nicer car, we want travel, perhaps we want a bit of luxury and ease in our lives? So that's the image that we often see. But what we don't see for those few people that get to that level of success is really what it took for them to get there. And I would encourage you to have very honest conversations about the struggles that they had, so that you can actually build a more realistic picture for yourselves of what it takes. Because then you can ask yourself, am I really up for it? If I know I've got to go through that, am I up for it? And if the answer is yes, you know full well you're doing the right thing. But for a lot of us, what actually happens with that entrepreneurial dream is, instead of having weeks off and luxury vacations, we'd be pleased to have a couple of days off, or frankly, even a couple of hours, right? The car that you dreamed of, long since gone, and you're hoping your current car is just not going to break down because you really can't cope with just another bill or another expense. So what you really have to do, that first step to overcome that dysfunction, is get very, very honest about your own seeds of desire. And what I mean by that is get really honest about what is it that you want. Why did you set out in business in the first place? And I'm not talking here about just the difference that you want to make in the world. I know that a lot of you want to make a big difference in the world, and that's what I'm driven by. But I want to give you permission here to be selfish and actually say, why is it that you went into business for yourself? What is it that you want that's going to be different in your own life first? Because when you can serve yourself and make an impact and a change in your own life, I can promise you'll be far better equipped to make a much bigger difference in the world. But you have to be able to do it for yourself first. And I say this to my clients, now you reverse engineer. You start with, what is it that I really want? Be honest about that. Write those things down. Find out what they would cost. What would it take? What do I want? What's that difference that I want my business to make in my life? There's nothing wrong with being in business to earn money, right? That is what business is about. And if you're not earning money from your business, you're actually running a non-profit. And yet some of you are not in the non-profit business. So now you're really in trouble, okay? So just get clear on that, and then you reverse engineer. You create a plan so that you can really see those milestones in your business. Because as you start to see progress and start to see that it works, I can tell you it becomes hugely motivating. Even if it's something really small. I was having a conversation with a lady as well in one of the breakout sessions earlier, and we were talking about big goals, but her goal is to get her first $1,000. That's a really good goal for a startup. And I shared with her that my very first goal was to earn $500 a month. That's where I started, and then we can build on that. That brings me, though, to the next dysfunction, is now you start to declare what you want. Remember, the universe now is going to send you those tests just to see what you're up, if you're really up for it. And you declare what you really want, but then we've got this other dysfunction that plays out, is that we're really addicted to busyness. And I don't mean the business of growing your business. It's like being busy. You meet somebody at a networking event or at an event like this, and you ask them how they are. They don't respond with how they are. They respond with how busy they are. Have you noticed? And then they say things like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. I've just got so much going on. I've just been so busy. Where do the weeks go to? There's just not enough time anymore. And busyness is worn like a badge of honor today. It's acceptable and actually really good to be busy, right? Now what if you were to respond with, you know what? I am doing so well. We've added about another 6 figures in profit recently. We're serving more people. We're being successful. We're building a great team. We're being super effective. You know that they'd probably punch you, don't you? That's the truth. So on the one hand, it's acceptable to be busy. And on the other hand, it's not acceptable to be successful. And this busyness just becomes like a tempting cocktail. It really is. It's like crack cocaine. Not that I've ever had it, but this is what people tell me it's like. You just want more. You get that fix, and it feels so good. And the more busy I am, the more I validate myself. But busyness isn't what's going to put dollars into your bank accounts as a business owner. You actually have to start to really look at focusing on the bottom line, focusing on income-generating activities. I get there's a ton of things to grow your business. But tweaking your website does not put dollars in the bank account, unless you happen to be a top web developer, right? Getting your marketing materials absolutely perfect, or writing that perfect blog and keep wordsmithing it. Those are important things, but they can become busy things, and they can become distractions from actually getting out there and generating income and focusing on that. Most businesses go out of business because they run out of cash. And as they run out of cash, typically their passion went considerably before, right? You need to have that money to survive. One of the companies that I worked with when I first moved here was a digital strategy company, and I worked with the CEO. They were at about 600,000 when we started working together. Helped to get the CEO to really step up and get focused on client attraction, income-generating activities. We set some really bold goals for the company, and we got the team aligned with them. And within 11 months, We took them to $1.25 million, right? Just by focusing on that one piece and getting everybody focused on it. They went on to win one of the best places to work in Arizona. They became like number 6 as well. So just sometimes that focus on that thing can really turn your business around. The next dysfunction, though, is as we start to focus on income-generating activities, and now we start to see what we really need to do to grow the business, there's a saber-toothed tiger lurking in your business, right? That's going to get you to stop, and you're going, okay, she's really crazy now. I followed her up until now. What the heck has saber-toothed tigers got to do with my business? You are hardwired to play it safe. Absolutely hardwired. It's in your DNA. When we used to be hunters and gatherers out on the prairie, you needed to know when there was danger looming, right? And the metaphor here is if you were out and you see a saber-toothed tiger coming around the lake, the rock, you don't have time to stop and think, is that saber-toothed tiger going to have me for lunch? Is he real? Oh my gosh, his fur looks so nice. Let me see if I can stroke him. No, your instincts have to take over because you have to survive. And the minute you're in a place of safety and threat, you're actually going to have 1,400 biochemicals flooding through your body to signal danger. In that moment, the executive center of your brain shuts down. It's also the reason, by the way, why intelligent people do stupid things when we're in fear, because literally a part of the brain shuts down. And the only thing you're going to be thinking about is getting yourself to safety. Now, the problem is the business world is changing so much this day. As a business owner, you have so many different roles to play, so many things to keep up with. I mean, social media, modern technology, just the landscape of business is about constant change. You as a business owner have to constantly change and evolve as a person in order to be able to keep up. Every time you change and start to step outside of that comfort zone, all of those biochemicals start flooding through your body again as if your life were under threat, as if there were really a saber-toothed tiger. Now, the interesting thing that I've noticed when working with people is the saber-toothed tiger shows up most when it comes to money. Try asking somebody that owes you money to become current with their payments. Try looking at your bank account and seeing that you really could do with a new client or two, and you probably should pick up the phone and do some follow-up that Gelly has said you should be doing, right? All of those things that often will grow the business. Speaking on a bigger stage, right? Being able to speak to people, go out to networking events, do your marketing, speak to a higher level audience. All of a sudden, that fear factor is going to come up. So on the one hand, I say we're destined for success because I believe each and every one of us is here because we have a mission to make a difference in the world and really bring about positive change. But on the other hand, we actually have to understand that we are sort of programmed for failure. And that's the fight that we have to actually manage inside of ourselves. We have to practice getting outside of our comfort zone. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. You build that muscle. And now all of a sudden, that saber-toothed tiger doesn't have the same hold on you as before. We all know this in practice, but it can still stop us in our tracks. And I often say as well, if we're talking about a magic potion, the place that you are going to find it is outside of your comfort zone. And it doesn't matter what level you're at in business. The one thing you should be thinking about as you leave this amazing event today is, what is one thing that I can do that will be outside of my comfort zone? For some of you, it was coming here in the first place. For others, it might be following up, right? Or some opportunities. But think about what's that one thing, and you need to be thinking about that each and every day. Which brings me to the fourth dysfunction, which is wallowing in the weeds of your business. Somebody quoted Michael Gerber this morning, E-Myth, and the importance of working on your business versus in it. But often what happens is, as an entrepreneur, we're juggling so many things that we get literally stuck in the weeds. And the reason I called this dysfunction wallowing in the weeds is one of my clients kept saying to me, I'm just in the weeds of my business the whole time. I just can't get out. Well, the problem with wallowing in the weeds of your business is twofold. First and foremost, you're not visible. If you're in the weeds, who do you think's seeing you? Right? Nobody. And equally so, when you're wallowing in the weeds of your business, it's really difficult to see the vision of where you want to get to because you're just so down in the dirt, literally. So we have to really understand where we need to be down in the weeds in our business, and that's what we have to do as small business owners, but make sure that we've got time to come up and smell the roses. Be more visible so that we can connect with other business leaders, get those opportunities. Be more visible so that our prospects can see us, particularly when you hear that, anywhere between 7 to 12 connections is what's going to bring about those new clients. You have to be more visible. You become the biggest kept secret. I'm sure if I was to ask for a show of hands here, like how many of you know that you've got really something wonderful to share with the world that could really transform people's lives or businesses, we would pretty much have the whole room with their hands up. But your prospects and your potential clients need to know where you are. So you have to become more visible. And one of the analogies that I often share as well, and this is one of the big secrets in business that nobody really teaches you, which is about how to make decisions, is this, by the way, is a view that used to be a view from my home when we lived in Switzerland, and this is the Mont Blanc, which is the highest mountain in Europe. It's very impressive. It is covered with snow year-round. If you go to the local village at the foot of the Mont Blanc, it's a little French village called Chamonix. You could go there on a summer's day. It would be gorgeous sunshine. You would see all these lovely chalets with flowers and everything, and people sitting outside on the terraces and sipping rosé wine. You'll see them in their flip-flops and their shorts. And you could mistakenly think that, it's a sunny day and you could just go up the Mont Blanc in your flip-flops. Well, at, 4,000 meters plus with glaciers on the top, that would really not be a wise thing to do. Now, if you happen to have ever climbed the Mont Blanc or gone to the top of it, once you're at the top of that mountain, you know full well that you have to be equipped differently. Those flip-flops are not going to serve you. You're going to need serious mountaineering gear. You might have problems with lack of oxygen. The weather comes in rapidly up there. You need to camp out overnight. Your fitness levels need to be completely different to get to the top than they are from the bottom. And this is really what we need to be able to do as business owners as well, is we have to start to make our decisions as if we were at the top of the mountain, that vision that we want for our business. Most business owners are making their decisions from where they're at today and wondering why they get stuck. But when we make our decisions from where we are today, it keeps us in the same place. We have to learn to take some calculated, grounded risks. That's what entrepreneurship is about. And yes, it can feel scary. Right? Coming to the States knowing nobody and saying, I'm going to follow my dream and start up a new business, that was making a decision from the top of the mountain. Everybody else thought I was crazy, right? But I knew, deep down inside, I knew what I was doing. So I want you to think about that. You have to make the decision, and it might not be from the top of the mountain, but what would be your next base camp? What would be that next level that you get to? And you start to think about, if I were already there in business, how would I be handling this differently? What decision would I be making? That will help you to be courageous and bold and play a much bigger game. Once you've made that decision, you have to follow through. But that's how you make quantum leaps in business. That's how I help my clients double and triple their incomes, because they make these much, much bigger decisions. The last dysfunction. Any of you ever get like feeling a little bit lonely in your business? like it's all you, and everything's on your shoulders. You have to do everything. You're stuck behind your computer. I call this dysfunction the Lone Ranger. And so many of us have been conditioned to think that we've got to work it all out for ourselves. And we're we're almost reinventing the wheel. Jim Rohn, very famous personal development guru and coach who's since passed away, used to say, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend most time with. This is really important as an entrepreneur. You want to make sure that the people you're spending time with and hanging around with are way ahead of you on the game of success. Don't hang out with people that are complaining and whining and questioning everything you do and second-guessing you. Hang out with people that are going to prove your mindset incorrect. Hang out with people that are going to say, that's not the way to do it, and I know there's another truth here because I've done it myself. Those are the people that will lift you up. They'll inspire you. When the universe sends you that challenge, those are the people that you really want to be around. Right? They'll believe in your vision and they'll believe in you. You also have to be willing to get help. I said that earlier. The same thinking that got you to where you are today will not get you to the next level. And I always think it's amazing that we have events like these that are put on by people that are very experienced, and their sole purpose is to help you. But what will always amaze me as well is the amount of people that will leave an event like this today and they won't reach out for help. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to say, I don't have all of the answers. Because I can promise you, you get a little nugget from somebody or a plan from something else or a little mindset shift. It can propel your success and really accelerate what's possible for you. You have to build your A-team. And I call your A-team your always team. These are the people that are going to lift you up, that will have your back, that will give you the tough messages, the tough love, as well as really believe in you and always be there for you. They're not the people that are there on the good days, and then the minute you're having a tough moment or a few tough months, they're bailing on you. That's why I call them your always team. And oftentimes when we look at how many people are really on our always team, and that means that they are highly invested in your agenda for success, even though they may lose something themselves, even though there might not be anything in it for them. They're highly invested in your success. I think when most of us are really honest about how many people we could have on our always team, you're lucky if you can count them on one hand. But you want to hunt them out, seek them out, spend time with them, nurture them. If you haven't got people on your always team now, set that as a goal that you'll go out networking and connecting and meet those people, because we all need them. Right? Business is never, ever grown in isolation. Don't care how good you might think social media is, but you have to get out and connect and build personal relationships. Right? Even the top internet marketeers, they're not doing it in isolation. Right? They're not hiding out behind their computer screens. So you really want to think about how you build that A-team and stop being the Lone Ranger in your business and thinking that you have to have all of the answers. Napoleon Hill called this the power of masterminding. And it's just putting all of those ideas together and brainstorming together in a way that's going to really serve you and propel you and move you forwards. I want to share with you one of the quotes that's really helped me and continues to inspire me each and every day when I'm having fear and doubt and anxiety and questioning if I can take myself and my business to the next level. And I want to share this inspirational quote with you. And I encourage you to write it down or look it up. Keep it close to your desk. Keep it as a place to step up. Because the truth of the matter is the greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high, but that it is too low and we achieve it. You've got to start thinking bigger. You've been given those seeds of desire and wanting more and wanting to serve the world and grow your business for a reason. That passion inside of you needs to come alive and needs to be translated into a sustainable, lucrative business that can really bring about significant change in the world. The world needs what you have to offer. There are people waiting for your services. There are people praying for your services. I promise you that. But the only way that they'll get to connect with you is when you really step up and you be bold and you play a much, much bigger game. I want to thank you for allowing me the privilege of being the graveyard speaker. A lot of times people ask me just at the end of my talk, not about the 5 dysfunctions, but they come up to me and they ask about my son. So just in closing today, I want to let you know that he is a very happy, healthy 19-year-old, and we are all now reunited as a family. But in order to get to that place, I had to admit that I didn't have all of the answers. And I'm a professional coach. I'm very highly trained. And there's an awful lot of people that kept saying to me, Vanessa, if anyone could work out this thing, it's you. And that one I couldn't work out by myself. I had to ask for help. Please come and connect with me at my booth. The organization that helped my son is called Workshop AZ. They run the most amazing programs, life skills and leadership for 9 to 19-year-olds. They were my first step in getting me the help and support I needed to then take my son into another program because it was beyond that program. But I am so passionate about that organization that helped me when I had nobody to call. I had nobody. I had a cell phone in those days that was empty, just arrived here right from Switzerland. That I am now giving back to them through my organization. I'm proud to say that through my recent Big Bold event, a signature event, we're sponsoring 11 teens in the Valley to go through their program this year. And that's just the beginning. Thank you. My goal is 100. I feel like 11 is a drop in the ocean. They're in this community. I'm in this community. I've actually stepped onto the board now to help them as well. And if you come by my booth and connect with me, I just love to give you some information because there's kids in this community that really need our help and guidance too. Thank you so much.